जी जनाब, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज 6th डे है हमारा और हम काफ़ी आगे जा चुके हैं। आज हम फॉर नेक्स्ट तकरीबन ख़त्म कर लेंगे। फॉर नेक्स्ट के अंदर जितनी भी वेरिएशंस थी टोटल और एवरेज की, काउंटिंग विद डिसीजन दैट यू नो नाउ वेल, विद परसेंटेज। और आज हमारे पास जो क्वेश्चंस हैं विच आर मे बी कपल ऑफ क्वेश्चंस जो कि हैं output with decisions. Okay, so let's see. First of all, format 1. देखिए, फॉर्मेट 1 में हमने टोटलिंग और टोटलिंग की जो रिलेशनशिप है एवरेज से वो, काउंटिंग विद डिसीजन और जो उसकी रिलेशनशिप है परसेंटेज से वो हमने कर लिया। आउटपुट विद डिसीजन has nothing to do with anything outside the loop. So when counting with decision, output with decision appears, it just appears inside the loop and has no further consequence outside the loop. So now, what is output with decision? As in with counting with decision, that we have got one if attached to counting. Similarly, there is an if attached to output. There is an if attached to output. So if that condition is true, that decision is true, only then the output is made, otherwise it does not. So let's see few of the questions which require us to do this part of for next loop. This is a question from May, June 2006. A formula, question 16, a formula for calculating the body mass index, BMI is equal to weight in kilograms divided by height into height. Calculate the BMI for a person whose weight is 80 and height is 2 meters. So 80 2 into 2, that is 4. right? So that is 20. So what is BMI? 20. So that is how it works. Using pseudocode or otherwise, write an algorithm that will input ID, weight, and height. This we have already discussed, that whenever we solve questions, we do not pay any heed to the units. Here you may see two units, kg and meters, and we are not going to pay any attention to it. So for count, is equal to 1 to 30. For count is equal to 1 to 30. Input ID, weight, and height. Now, if there's a formula, apply the formula. So formula is BMI is equal to weight divided by height into height. You may write height square. This is height square. That is how we can show in computer, or height arrow upwards and 2. This might be used as well. Now, calculate their body mass index and output their ID, BMI, and comment. So output ID, BMI, and comment as follows. If BMI is greater than 25, if BMI is greater than 25, then output overweight. Do not write overweight this way, rather write as it is given in the question, overweight. But in double quotation. Remember, this is a string that you are going to output. This is an output with decision. A BMI between 25 and 19 inclusive. So if BMI is greater than or equal to 19 and BMI is less than or equal to 25, then output normal. Since you have now two lines, so we will have to put and if. Then it says, and BMI less than 19 get underweight. So if BMI is less than 19, then output underweight. And that's about it. This is it. So next, count. This is over. So this is called output with decision. You can see over here, if this is true, then output overweight. You can see over here, if it is true, then output normal. You can see over here, if this is less than 90, and at any given time, out of these three, only one will be true, rest two will be false. Now, variables count, ID, weight, height, BMI, and that's it. So count is equal to 0, ID is equal to 0, weight is equal to 0, height is equal to 0, and BMI is equal to 0. So that's about it. So this is output with decision. All right. So most of the questions are now covered, and this concludes format 1. This is it. This is the format 1. All sort of questions we have discussed. If I have left any questions, either they were the same as other questions or they were so simple. So that is why I have not solved it. Rest of the questions I have solved. So this was format 1. Now let's start format 2. Format 2 is while. While. That is a condition-based format. If you do remember, we discussed this. So simple count-based for next format 1 is completed. This we have completed. Now we will move on to format 2, which is while and while. Okay, so now we are going to discuss this. All right, so let's see. So format 2 This is precondition. Means we check first and then we act. Initialize it is its as its place, but we input before while and we also input the same before and while. This is the rule. Because this condition is based on the input made before while. If this input makes this condition false, this whole loop will be skipped. This whole loop will be skipped. Now, initialize is the same. Input is made over here and then before and while. So before while and then before and while. Now what basically happens, let's say we have got values in variable x 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many values are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5 values. So this value will be read before the loop, and once the system enters the loop, it will go on, and these rest of the values will be read by the input inside the loop. So the loop which is outside, the loop that is outside is basically the one जो कि पहली इनपुट लेता है. So, जो पहली इनपुट है वो यहाँ से होगी, और एक बार आप लूप में दाखिल हो गए तो जब ये एंड वाइल वापस भेजेगा तो ये वाइल पे भेजेगा, उससे पहले नहीं भेजेगा. सो वाइल जब हम लूप में अंदर आ गए तो बाकी सारी वैल्यूज जो होंगी वो इस वाले इनपुट से सिस्टम में जाएंगी. अभी तो ये था कि आपके पास फॉर नेक्स्ट में जो इनपुट थी वो फॉर के अंदर थी. सो एज मेनी टाइम्स फॉर वर्क्स द इनपुट इज टेकन, बट ओवर हियर सिंस द कंडीशन डिपेंड्स अपॉन द इनपुट, you have to take first input. Now let's say this condition is input until the value is greater than 0. So we have to actually input the value before we enter the loop. So this would be input x, and the condition would be while x is greater than 0. What if before this 2 we have a 0? So what will happen that the first value, the very first value will be 0. So this loop will never work. But since that is not the case, the value is greater than 0, system will enter in the loop. So whatever it does, then next input, input x, will take this input, and then when the loop works, then this input, then this input, then this input, and suppose that at the end we have 0. So as soon as system will take this input, and while will break out. So it checks first, does later. So it says that in while loop, there are chances that loop will not work at all if the condition fails right at first check. So there was a question day before yesterday, which loop works at least once. That is repeat until, because it performs the whole task and then checks it. So in while loop, there are chances that loop will not work at all if the condition fails right at the start with the first input. Rest, if you would see, if there's a formula will be calculated, if then the output will be made, then totaling, counting with decision, output with decision, extreme value. So now what is different? This scenario is different, that we have to input and enter, and then this scenario is different. Here it is a count without decision. So sometimes we need to count. We will see when. Sometimes we need to count and then we will be counting without decision. So there would be no if attached. It would be only a counting statement. C is equal to C plus 1, 1 is equal to A is equal to A plus 1, B is equal to B plus 1, and then we will be utilizing that. And second one is this group. Sorry, third one. So input is made before while, input is made before and while, and both inputs are the same. There is no difference. And then sometimes we might need to count ourselves because the count is not given in the question. So let's start. So again, let's start from the same 2006. Let me tell you one thing. The choice between counting based and condition based questions might be there, but if it is condition based question, condition based iteration based question, then it's up to you whether you take format 2 or format 3. It's up to you that which format would you like to choose. So it's not the matter that questions for format 2 are different and format 3 are different. Both while and repeat can apply to same questions because that question is condition based. It is not the question which is count based. There are no counts, just conditions. So if you like to choose to solve that condition based question with format 3, that is repeat until, it's up to you. We have got same question, we will be initially solving them with while, and then later I will solve them with repeat. So it is now. Write an algorithm using pseudocode or flowchart which input a set of positive numbers which end with -1. So input positive number while input positive number while this positive number is not equal to -1. So this input will go on until the positive number does not become -1. In Urdu we say जब तक ये -1 नहीं हो जाए उस वक्त तक इसको चलना है. नहीं हो जाए means not equal to. Output the average. So it means that average requires total, but we do not have a count. So what we do first we total it. Total is equal to total plus positive number, whatever the number that is entered will be total. And then we will do what? Count without decision. So this time we will be counting ourselves. Count is equal to count plus 1. Why do we count? Because average requires you to have a total and the count of total numbers. Output the largest value. If positive number is greater than highest, then highest is equal to positive number. And that's about it. Now we have to input again, as I said, that input before while and input before and while. Once you get out of this loop, you will have to find average. So average is equal to total divided by count, and then you will output average comma highest. Now what are the variables that we have? Positive number, so positive number is equal to 0. Then we have total, then total is equal to 0. Then we have count, then count is equal to 0. Then we have highest, and highest is always -1000 and lowest is +1000. And then we have average. Average is equal to 0. So this question is completed. The next one we will do later because this is format 5. We will do it later. This question belongs to format 5. What is format 5? We will discuss later. This is also format 5 question. This question is done. This question is done. This is completed over here. This is format 4. We have not yet started. This is format 2. It says write an algorithm using pseudocode or a program flowchart that inputs a series of positive numbers. -1 is used to terminate the input. It is same sort of question, but this is while with counting with decision, because it says how many. So again, input a positive number while positive number is not equal to -1. They say how many are less than 1000 and how many are greater than 1000. So if positive number is greater than 1000, then count in A. A is equal to A plus 1. If positive number is less than 1000, then count in B. B is equal to B plus 1. And then we know they don't ask for anything. There's no totaling. There's no nothing. No highest, lowest. So we will be inputting positive numbers once again and then end while. So the rule is same. Input before while and input before end while. Once you get out, I'm sorry, I missed your messages. Ali Hassan, you said that we can't see your OneNote window, sir. So do you see it now? Let me know. Femina, yes, sir. Okay. Femina says that are you writing on a screen? It's not visible. Is it visible now, Bete? Let me know. Saklan Shazaz, sir, the text you are writing is not displaying. We could not understand whatever you wrote because it wasn't displayed. Is it displayed now? Saklan, उमेमा, सर हमें क्या prompts लिखने की जरूरत होती है? बेटा prompts की इन वाले questions में कोई जरूरत नहीं होती. There are no questions allocated for Okay, I'll show you that part. There are no marks allocated for prompts. So we are not writing prompts. So we will discuss about prompts later. That is why I skipped it. If you look into these marking schemes, no marks are allocated. So this is just 4 marks question. What do you expect? You need to write the whole program? Jacqueline, I will send you this file so you would have everything. Don't worry about it. So that's about it. Now we have to output. What do we need to output? How many times it was greater than 1000, that is A, and how many times it was less than 1000, that is B. And now let's find what variables do we need. Positive number is equal to 0, A is equal to 0, B is equal to 0. That's it. Question is solved for 4 marks. Let's review the question before this. As you said that you could not watch it properly, let's review it. All right, this is the question. I said if it is a condition-based question, we can solve it using format 2, format 3. It's up to you, whether you use while or you use repeat. So this says that write an algorithm using pseudocode flowchart which input a set of positive numbers which end with -1. So there is no number given that how many inputs will be made. It's a positive number and it will be kept entering, and as soon as someone enters -1, it is ended. So we write what? Input positive number while positive number is not equal to -1. Then it says that find the average. I just talked about it. I didn't write anything. In that particular screen, I didn't write much. I just talked. Whatever, when I was explaining this format, when I talked earlier, my words were more worthy than what I have written. I just, what do we say? I just doodled. There was nothing important. This is what is important. Okay. So in case if it is requiring you to have average, then we will have to have total. And then count as well, because counting is not given. If it is not given, we will have to count. And if it is counting with decision, then they will ask for how many times this, how many times that. That is how it is solved. Let's see if there are any other questions. We will solve those too. So by the end of the day, when we are done with it, all of the questions will be solved. This is format 2. Now, this is format 2, October, November 2013, P12, but this is with assumptions. Because this is a question which is related to sensors and all, and sensors are giving input, not humans. So this is a question which is a bit vague. Just pay attention. Don't get bothered about it. If such questions appear, we have to have an idea of these rather than we could signify that what we have actually done. Let's read this question out. A greenhouse is being monitored by a computer using 2 sensors. First sensor's name is sensor 1. So whenever a name is given or a value is given and there is a particular way attached to it, let's say if it is in caps, if it is in all smalls, if it is in caps and numbers together, whatever, you got to use that formation of the name as is. That's the rule. Okay. So the name of the first sensor is sensor 1, measures the temperature, and sensor 2 measures the oxygen level. If the temperature exceeds greater than 45 degree, and remember degree C is a unit, we won't be using it, or oxygen level falls below 0.19, then an error message is output by the computer. Write an algorithm using pseudocode flowchart which input both sensor readings, check the sensor input value and output the warning message if these values are out of the range. Out of the range means if the temperature exceeds 45 degree or oxygen falls below 0.19. And then it tells about how we will end the loop. It says continuous monitoring will be until escape key is pressed. How escape key will be read? It can be read that way. So we will be just inputting something like escape. and we will say if escape is equal to true, something like that. So first of all, we have to have, now you can see this. So we are like input sensor 1, comma sensor 2, comma escape. And then condition would be while escape is equal to false. So this loop will work until escape is false. Or you may write escape is not equal to true. This is basically, these two conditions are the same. Or you can write while not escape. All three conditions are same. Until escape is false, go on. Until escape does not become true, go on. Until escape is false. Not escape means false. Okay, so it's up to you how do you use it. So I leave it to you. While escape is equal to false, we have to check if what it says, check the sensor into warning signal if either are out of range. Okay, so this is basically output with decision. This is not format 2. Check the sensor input values. This is format 2, output with decision. I'm sorry. Check the sensor input value and output warning message. So if sensor 1 is temperature is greater than 45, then output error. If sensor 2 is less than 0.19, then output error. So whenever you like system to output something which is in text form, hold on. We have to put that in double quotation. Now there might be variations. It might be like if sensor 1 is greater than 45 or sensor 2 is less than 0.19, then output error. This might be another way. When more than one conditions have the same output, when more than one conditions have the same output, we can put those both conditions together inside one if with the use of or in between. This is exactly the example of such scenarios. All right. So if you write it separately or you write with or, it's up to you. But when we were discussing this use of if at first, day before yesterday, I told you that I always prefer simplified version of if, that is more readable. See, this is not for your satisfaction. This is about the readability. This is about gaining marks. So several people would have several ideas. I encourage them to go with it, but whatever they write must be understood by their examiner, because at the end of the day, ultimately it would be examiner who would be examining and marking it. All right, so keep it simple. Now, we have to have this input once again, as I said, that input before while and input after. before and while, sensor 1, sensor 2, and escape keys status. And then it comes to end while. And as I said, when it is output with decision based question, we don't have anything after end while, because all of the outputs are made inside the loop with the conditions, as in output with decision. So how many variables do we have over here? Sensor 1, sensor 2, escape, and that's it. So sensor 1 is equal to 0, sensor 2 is equal to 0, and escape, we have no idea what escape will be, so we just make it 0. Maybe it's a sensor input that tells 1 if there is escape key pressed, so I'll tell 0 if it is not pressed. Anyways, whatever it is, we don't care about it, just move on. Now, describe why the loop. So the following pseudocode was written to input 1000 dates. So it is repeat based question. Leave it for now. Errors. What else? We will look into these questions separately as a whole in one go. So this question is done. This rock question is done. So all the questions up to 2014 are done. Let's check the other file, which is 15 onwards. Remember, I have sent you these files, both of them, and I update and send it every day as well. Explain the difference between variables and constants in a program. So variable, as usual, let's just solve a few more questions. Variables may change during the execution of program. Constants remain unchanged during program execution. Identify 3 different loop structures: for next, repeat, until, and while, and while. That is if and case. 2 different selection statements, if and case. 2 different condition statements that you can use when writing. Explain using example why would you choose to use each condition. As we discussed yesterday, if is used when there are possibilities for different outcomes for the different inputs, and we use case when we expect different outputs for the same one variable. If we are just judging one variable, if we are comparing just one variable, if we are acting over the different values of the same variable, then we will use case. Otherwise, if there are multiple values and we are expecting multiple outcomes, then we use if. Now this is a good question. It says repeat, until, and while, do and while are two different loop structures. Let's talk about this do shortly. Are two different loop structure you can use when writing pseudocode. Explain using examples why would you choose to use each type of loop. So you say while number is less than 10. Reason for choice, we check the number before the loop begins. And then example 2. Until number is equal to 10. So we stop the loop at the end when number becomes 10. So see, they both are the same, but the way we ask for it is different. So in while it would go on until number becomes 10, and in until it will go on until number becomes 10. Only the way to put it is different. So while says that while number is not less than 10, जब तक के number 10 से छोटा है चलता रहेगा, जैसे ये false होगा बराबर हो जाएगा. अच्छा, इसको आप ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं while number does not become not equal to 10. दोनों सूरतों में चलेगा. और यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है कि पहले वो काम कर रहा है, फिर ऐड करने के बाद नंबर को जज कर रहा है. वो जैसे ही 10 होगा वो बाहर निकल जाएगा, वो इक्वल टू 10 पे बाहर निकल, यानी कि दोनों ने सेम नंबर ऑफ टाइम चलना है. बट फर्क क्या है, वाइल में पहले चेक करना, रिपीट में बाद में चेक करना है. Alright, so this part C, write an algorithm using pseudocode to input a number between 0 and 100 inclusive. Now, हम while से करते हैं, फिर repeat से भी कर लेंगे बाद में. Input number while number, this is inclusive, 0 and 100 inclusive, while number is greater than or equal to 0 and number is less than or equal to 100. So this is a range. If it is 10, 10 is greater than or equal to 0 and also it is less than or equal to 100. So both conditions are fulfilling, so this loop will work. The algorithm should prompt for the input and output error messages. Now it is asking for the prompt. So all those who ask for it should know that if they ask for prompt, then you will see. So first you would have to put a prompt on a screen that says enter a number. For those who don't know what a prompt is, let's check. If it is written on a screen, enter your name, and after a colon, a cursor is blinking. So this particular sentence is making you input something. So any of those wordings, when you fill in a form which tells that what you need to input, are called prompt. So this is actually a string which needs to appear on the screen. This is for input. And if it is being output, then it says that your name is Ali. So this is a complete output, but out of this, this will be regarded as a prompt. So these are the prompts. Prompts are those sentences, especially in input, which makes you input the data. Obviously, the way we were writing program, there was nothing shown on a screen to get the data in from the user is not right, but the thing is there are no marks allocated for it, so we don't waste time. So I said that prompt will only be used until or unless it is asked for. If it is asked for, well and good, go ahead. It has been asked over here, so the algorithm should prompt, we have prompt. So it means that next time we will input, we will also use this prompt. And output an error message if the number is outside the range. All right, so inside the while we don't have to do anything, and outside we would have to do something. We will discuss about it. So let's run the loop. Again, input, sorry, first we have to prompt. Let's do it completely. Hold on. If number is less than 0 or number is greater than 100, then output error. So this is basically output an error message if the number is outside the range. So we input the data, we check the data. If the data is outside the range, we will output the error, and inside the loop we will do the same output, enter a number, and then input it again, input a number, and then have that same thing. If number is less than 0, then output error, and then we would have to write and while. So this would go on. So the first input will be checked here, and all rest of the inputs will be checked over here. Now with while, you can see that this whole algorithm has become bigger. ठीक है, तो कहने का मकसद ये है कि if we use repeat in this case, that will not just the alternative, that repeat will give us a chance to reduce the size of the code as well. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. Sir, आप while के ही कंडीशन को लेस देन 0 और ग्रेटर देन 100 करके एरर आउटपुट करवा दें. बेटा while में आउटपुट नहीं हो सकता, while में आउटपुट नहीं हो सकता. मतलब आपका क्या है सर, आप while की कंडीशन को लेस देन और ग्रेटर देन करके आउटपुट करवा दें. बेटा that is validation. We will do validation later. Hold for it. This question should be done this way. They are expecting, if you look into your marking schemes, the answers are this way. What you are talking about is basically validation. We will discuss validation later. All right, Umama? So let's see. Write an algorithm using pseudocode to input three different numbers, multiply the two larger numbers together and output the result. So this is format 5. We will do later. When we discuss format 5, we will solve this question. पता कैसे चलेगा? बेटे देखें, जब वैलिडेशन की बात होती है तो कहा जाता है कि वैलिडेशन लिखें, ऐसे पता चलेगा. नहीं तो सीधा सीधा वो write an algorithm using pseudocode, or otherwise it's just a simple pseudocode as we have been doing it for last 3 days. If they ask you write a validation, फिर वैलिडेशन की हम बात करेंगे. वैलिडेशन पे हम बात करेंगे अभी. वैलिडेशन के लिए बोलते हैं वैलिडेशन लिखें. अच्छा, May June 2019 3A gave an example of a condition statement using pseudocode. So if A is greater than 0, then B is equal to A. Describe the purpose of a conditional statement. It checks for the given condition and runs different code lines for the true and false outcomes of the condition. All right, so you better rewrite it like if A is greater than 0, then B is equal to A, else C is equal to A, and if. Now this fits. If this condition is true, B will become A, else if this condition is false, then C will become A. So this definition now fits in. It checks for the given condition and runs different code lines for the true and false outcomes of the condition. For each of the 4 groups of statements in the table, place a tick in the correct column to show whether it is an example of selection or repetition. Selection is if, rest, and case. Sorry, if and case are selection and rest are repetition, means loops. So this is loop, this is selection, this is selection, this is loop. Simple. That's about it. All of the questions are solved. Now let's solve all these questions which we have just solved with repeat. Now this is format 3. Format 3 means instead of while, now you are going to use repeat. So if you could see, after initialization, instead of for we have used repeat, and rest is the same. Same as what? For. Only this is one of the difference. All right. Okay. You can see this screen. Let me know, please. Okay. Now, what changes here is just this line. Compare it with for. We will compare it with while later. Then we have got this and this. That's it. These three changes. Rest is same. वही इनिशियलाइज है, वही फॉर्मूला है, वही टोटलिंग है, वही काउंटिंग में डिसीजन है, वही सब कुछ है, वही परसेंटेज है, वही आउटपुट है. सिर्फ यहाँ पे डिफरेंस आ रहा है. सो काउंटिंग में डिसीजन कब करेंगे? जब हमें टोटल और एवरेज चाहिए होगी. टोटल चाहिए होगा या एवरेज चाहिए होगी? क्योंकि हमें एवरेज में टोटल नहीं चाहिए होगा, एवरेज चाहिए होगी. जब हमें एवरेज चाहिए होगी या हमें काउंट चाहिए होगा. ठीक है, बाकी सब सेम है. देखिए इसमें कोई फर्क नहीं है. वही इनपुट है, वही फॉर्मूला. अगर फॉर्मूला होगा तो उसकी आउटपुट होगी. वही टोटलिंग है, वही काउंटिंग में डिसीजन है फॉर परसेंटेजेस एंड ऑल. वही आउटपुट में डिसीजन है. बट इफ इट इज अबाउट एवरेज और काउंट, वी हैव टू काउंट आवरसेल्फ. देन एक्सट्रीम वैल्यूज एंड एवरेज. Let's solve same question which we have just solved with while, now with repeat. starting 2006. All right, this was a question with while. अब हम इसी क्वेश्चन को जो है रिपीट से सॉल्व करते हैं। देखिए इसमें हम यहाँ पे लिखेंगे रिपीट इनपुट पॉजिटिव नंबर total is equal to total plus positive number, count without decision count is equal to count plus 1, if positive number is greater than highest, then highest is equal to positive number, and then until positive number is equal to -1. I wonder if you can see it. Hold on. ठीक है, repeat input positive number, total is equal to total plus positive number, and once we get out we will output average. Average is equal to total divided by count, and output average comma highest, and we will do the same initialization. So it's just that simple. All right, so this is converted. Cannot see what you are writing. Now I believe that you can see it, because I can see it on my computer as well. Famina nazar aa gaya bete, zara bataiye. Good. तो आपने देखा कि रिपीट से वाइल में कन्वर्ट करना कोई मसला नहीं है। वाइल में हमें थोड़ा सा कोड ज्यादा लिखना पड़ता है, लेकिन आप देखिए रिपीट में ना एक एरर है, इंट्रिंसिक एरर है, बॉर्न एरर है। फर्ज करें ये हम दूसरा वाला लिख रहे हैं, किसी ने डायरेक्ट -1 इनपुट कर दिया, तो वो क्या होगा, वो टोटल में भी हो जाएगा ऐड, वो काउंट भी बढ़ जाएगा, वो एक कंडीशन भी चल जाएगी। तो उसके लिए हमें बाज़ औक़ात फिर इस कोड के ऊपर एक कंडीशन और लगानी पड़ेगी कि इफ पॉजिटिव नंबर इज नॉट इक्वल टू -1 देन एग्जीक्यूट दीज 3 लाइंस। और फिर हमें इस कोड जो मैंने अभी इसको आइडेंटिफाई किया, इसके नीचे एंड इफ लगाना पड़ेगा। ऑल्दो उसके मार्क्स एलोकेटेड नहीं होते, लेकिन फिर भी दिस इज द केस। यानी कि आप इस लाइन के शुरू में लिखेंगे कि इफ पॉजिटिव नंबर इज नॉट इक्वल टू -1, तो ये कोड चलेगा, और उसके बाद देन, और उसके बाद यहाँ पर आप एंड इफ लगाएंगे। ठीक है, आपने इनपुट किया पॉजिटिव नंबर, रिपीट के अंदर आके इनपुट किया पॉजिटिव नंबर, फिर आपने लिखा इफ पॉजिटिव नंबर इज नॉट इक्वल टू -1 देन एग्जीक्यूट दीस 3 लाइंस। कौन सी लाइंस? टोटल इज इक्वल टू टोटल प्लस पॉजिटिव नंबर, काउंट इज इक्वल टू काउंट प्लस 1, इफ पॉजिटिव नंबर इज ग्रेटर देन हाईएस्ट एंड हाईएस्ट इज इक्वल टू पॉजिटिव नंबर, एंड देन एंड इफ। इस सूरत में बस ये हो सकता है कि अगर किसी ने राइट अवे, क्योंकि ये चेक बाद में करता है, एक्ट पहले करता है, तो चेक आखिर में कर रहा है, दिस इज पोस्ट कंडीशन। So if someone would have entered -1, so that -1 would have an effect over the total. Total would be reduced by -1 because we are adding it. Count will be increased. So in turn, the average will be jeopardized. So that is how it works. So mostly we use repeat for validation purposes. So whenever it is question, we use while, but sometimes we use repeat. But मेनली रिपीट का यूज वैलिडेशन में हम लोग करते हैं। चलें अगला क्वेश्चन देखते हैं। ये वाला क्वेश्चन। अगेन इसमें भी यही होगा, इनपुट positive number inside repeat. If positive number is not equal to -1, then inside it we write if positive number is greater than 1000, if positive number is less than 1000, and then we will do end if thing. And then until positive number is not, until positive number is equal to -1, we get out, then we output A comma B. All right, that is how we will do it. Move on. Now this question, repeat input sensor 1, sensor 2, and escape. If sensor 1 if sensor 2 until escape is equal to 1 or true. That's about it. These are just few lines. Repeat input sensor 1, sensor 2, and escape. If sensor 1 is greater than 45, then output error. If sensor 1 is less than 0.19, then output error until escape key is true. That is what it is. See the same question. Let's check in the other file. So we are ending pseudocode today. Good. All pseudocodes are done. Now, this question with prompts. Output, enter a number. Input, a number. That's about it. Now you see, if you compare this code with the previous code in while, this is shorter code. Write an algorithm using pseudocode to input a number between 0 and 100 and keep entering it. The algorithm should prompt for the input and output an error message if the number is outside the range. All right, so repeat, output, enter a number, which is a prompt, input the number. If number is less than 0 or number is greater than 100, then output out of range. Since I have written it in 2 lines, so I have used and if as well. Otherwise, 2 more lines will be decreased until number is less than 0 or number is greater. So as soon as number is less than 0, this loop will be break. Or we have to write it other way around. Sorry. We have to keep entering the number. If number until number is greater than 0 and number is less than 100. As soon as correct number is entered, we will get out. So as soon as this condition is true, we will get out. All right, that is how it works. Who asked this question? पता कैसे चलेगा वाला? उमैमा. So उमैमा, basically देखें ये कोड आपको इसलिए confusion हो रही थी. अगर वो ये लोग ये बोलते ना कि आपको वैलिडेशन करनी है तो फिर भी आप यही कोड लिखते हैं, लेकिन उन्होंने इसको बोला until the name of pseudocode. So अगर मैं वैलिडेशन करूंगा ना तो फिर मैं इसके साथ करूंगा, ठीक है, लेकिन उन्होंने बोला नहीं है. अभी तो हमने इसको खैर ऑल्टरनेट के तौर पे देखा ना, तो वैलिडेशन में हम ऐसे देखते हैं, ठीक है. सो इन्होंने बोला नहीं है. आप वाइल से लिखेंगे तो ऐसे हो जाएगा, रिपीट से लिखेंगे ऐसे हो जाएगा, और ये वैलिडेशन ही है, लेकिन क्वेश्चन में नहीं बोला गया. अब उनकी मर्जी है. तो आपका क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे स्टैंड ट्रू. So that's about it. We have finished format 1, format 2, format 3. Now, before we go to format, yes, prefer इसमें repeat ही होगा. अगर आपको कहीं पर भी validation का sense आ जाता है ना बेटे, तो इसमें आप prefer जो है वो repeat ही करेंगे. बिल्कुल आपकी सही बात है. अच्छा, अब देखें, हम इससे पहले कि हम फॉर्मेट 4 में जाएं, विच इज फॉर विद इन फॉर, जिसको हम नेस्टेड फॉर बोलते हैं, हम पहले एक और कर लेते हैं क्वेश्चन, जिसमें जो मैंने आपको शुरू में बताया था कंस्ट्रक्ट्स होती हैं. कौन कौन सी कंस्ट्रक्ट्स होती हैं? तो सीक्वेंस होता है जो हर प्रोग्राम में होता है. दूसरी कंस्ट्रक्ट होती है रेपिटेशन, और दूसरी कंस्ट्रक्ट में हमने पढ़ा था सिलेक्शन या डिसीजन या इफ देन एल्स, और तीसरी क्या थी? रेपिटेशन. तो रेपिटेशन के हिसाब से हमने अपने कोड्स को जो है वो कैटेगराइज कर लिया. जब हमने कैटेगराइजेशन करी तो हमने रेपिटेशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से करी, तो फिर हमने देखा कि देयर आर 2 टाइप्स ऑफ रेपिटेशंस. कौन कौन सी रेपिटेशंस होती हैं? प्री कंडीशन एंड पोस्ट कंडीशन. तो प्री कंडीशन हमने कर ली, पोस्ट कंडीशन भी हमने कर ली. फॉर्मेट 1 हम किसको कहते हैं? सिंपल फॉर नेक्स्ट को. प्री कंडीशन हम कहते हैं फॉर्मेट 2 यानी कि व्हाइल एंड व्हाइल को. फिर पोस्ट कंडीशन है रिपीट अंटिल यानी कि फॉर्मेट 3, वो भी हमने कर ली. अब हम आ जाते हैं नॉन आइटरेटिव कैटेगरी की तरफ, मतलब जहां पर आइटरेशन है ही नहीं, ना फॉर है ना रिपीट है ना ही व्हाइल है, यानी कि वो काम एक बार ही रिक्वायर्ड है, बस एक बार होके खत्म हो जाए. ठीक है, एक बार होके ही खत्म हो जाए. ये हमने दोनों खत्म कर दिया। अब हम आ रहे हैं इधर जो नॉन आइटरेटिव एरिया है। इस नॉन आइटरेटिव एरिया में जो फॉर्मेट है उसको हम टर्म करते हैं फॉर्मेट 5। सही है। तो अब हम फॉर द चेंज एक काम करते हैं कि अभी हमारे पास छोटा सा टाइम है, ये फॉर्मेट 5 कंप्लीट हो जाएगी, ये हम कर लेंगे और कल फिर हम जो है वो फॉर्मेट 4 यानी कि कॉम्प्लेक्स नेस्टेड लूप्स करेंगे और कल हम उनको ख़त्म करने के बाद एरे पे चले जाएंगे और फिर हमारे पास सिर्फ कल फॉर्मेट 4 ख़त्म हो जाएगी, एरेज हो जाएंगे। उसके बाद हमारे पास सिर्फ फ्लो चार्ट्स बचेंगे जो कि हम एक दिन में ख़त्म करेंगे। तो ये हो जाएंगे हमारे पास 7 डेज 8 डेज और फिर 9th और 10th डे पे हम लोग प्री रिलीज मटेरियल करेंगे एंड 4 hours विल बी मोर देन इनफ फॉर इट। ओके, सो लेट्स गो अहेड। How do we know it is format 5? We know it is format 5 because they have not asked for any number of times. They have not asked for any condition. What they have asked for is something that is happening just once. If it is happening once, then we can clearly see it is format 5. So let's see if there are any questions for format 5. There were few. This is May-June 2008. Question 12. Algorithm and programs use loops to control the number of times a particular procedure is used. Two methods are repeat, until, and for to. Write a pseudocode using both these loops methods to input 20 numbers into a variable called x. You can do that easily. I'm just going to skip. And part B says that name another loop structure, that is while and end while. Question number 19 is the one particularly that interests us under the umbrella of format 5, and it says that customer can withdraw cash from an automatic teller machine, ATM. Withdrawal is refused if amount entered is greater than current balance. See, right away condition application starts. There are no how many withdrawals are made, there are no how many customers are there, until what, until this, nothing. All right, so let's start. Every program that you write has got input plus process plus output. Input, process, output. So if it has not asked for input, we would have to make input. Customer can withdraw cash from automatic teller machine. So start by input cash, amount. Withdrawal is refused if amount entered is greater than current balance. And withdrawal is refused if amount is less than daily limit. So this is output with condition. If amount is greater than current balance, or see, withdrawal is refused, is refused. So in both of the cases, the withdrawal is refused. It means the outcome is same. Conditions are two. There are two conditions. We can put it together with or we can write it separately. It's up to you. I prefer not writing or and rather writing statements one by one. But I'm doing it over here since I started having questions, and sometimes it is okay to do that. But remain assured whether you do this way or that way, they all are the same. Or amount is greater than daily limit. Now, see one thing. If you write it like this, if amount is greater than current balance or daily limit, so this is exactly incorrect. We have to use the variable name after every or and end. Do not write it this way, amount is greater than current balance or daily limit. Maybe when we are talking about it, this seems okay, but when we are writing pseudocode, it is not. Then output refused. All right, so this is done. If current balance is less than 100, then a charge of 2% is made. 2% of what? The amount that you want to withdraw. So if current balance is less than 100, then current balance is equal to amount multiplied by 0.02. 0.02 का मतलब क्या है कि आपके पास 2% आ जाएगा. If it is 100 rupees ना, तो 2 रुपए बन जाएंगे. 0.2 का मतलब 20% होता है, 20 रुपए. अगर 0.02 होगा तो 2 रुपए बन जाएंगे. If current balance is equal to amount into, if current balance is less than 100, तो automatically आपको अमाउंट जो है वो 0.98 के बराबर कर देना है. अमाउंट का 0.98, सॉरी, करंट बैलेंस को आप अमाउंट के 98, अमाउंट का 2% करंट बैलेंस में से आप माइनस करेंगे. Current balance is equal to current balance minus 2% of the amount. Alright, अगर आपने अमाउंट जो है वो 50 रुपए निकलवाया तो उसका 2% बनता है 1 रुपया. वो आपके करंट बैलेंस में से पहले माइनस होगा, फिर आप अमाउंट विड्रॉ करेंगे. Okay, then it says if current balance is 100, no charge is made. Okay, you don't have to write anything for it. If it is less than 100, a charge is already made. Now what you have to do at the end? You will have to output the amount. But before you output the amount, you have to deduct the amount from the current balance as well. Current balance is equal to current balance minus amount. So that's it. This is the question. Now, if you ask me, sir, पता क्या चलेगा क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना, totally आपको अपने इंस्टिंक्ट से काम करना है. खास तौर पे ये गिवन नहीं है और ये गिवन नहीं है. तो ये तो मैंने आपको बता दिया कि एक प्रोग्राम में इनपुट, प्रोसेस और आउटपुट तीनों आएगा. तो ये इनपुट हो गया, ये आउटपुट हो गया और ये क्या हो गया? प्रोसेस. ठीक है. आपसे एक अमाउंट पूछा गया, आपने उस अमाउंट को जो है वो बता दिया कि वो करंट बैलेंस से ज्यादा है तो या डेली लिमिट से ज्यादा है तो आपने रिफ्यूज कर दिया. अगर करंट बैलेंस आपका 100 से कम है तो आपने अमाउंट में से, सॉरी, करंट बैलेंस में से अमाउंट का 2% आपने वैसे ही निकाल दिया, वो बैंक के पास आ गया. फिर आपने अमाउंट को करंट बैलेंस में से माइनस कर दिया। अगर आपके पास 500 रुपए थे और आपने 200 रुपए निकलवाए तो अब आपके अकाउंट में 300 रुपए रह जाएंगे, तो आपका करंट बैलेंस जो है वो रिड्यूस हो जाएगा। और फिर जो भी अमाउंट आपने इनपुट किया था वही आपको आउटपुट हो जाएगा। आप एटीएम पे जाते हैं, आप बोलते हैं 200 रुपए दो, वो 200 रुपए दे देता है। आप बोलते हैं 10,000 रुपए दो, वो 10,000 रुपए दे देता है। I hope that you got the idea. So this is format 5. Let's see if we have got any other questions. Yes, this is one of those questions. So what it says, Daniel lives in Italy and traveled to Mexico, India, and New Zealand. The time difference are, if it is Mexico, then it is -7 hours, but no difference in minutes. If it is India, then you have to add 2 hours and 32 minutes. If it is New Zealand, you have to add 2 hours and 02 minutes. Now, the first and foremost question that I received when I saw this question, sir, हो सकता है कि वो जब उसमें 11 घंटे लगाएं तो that goes beyond 24 और 12 घंटे से. So that is not our concern. This is just 4 marks question. So what we have to input? Input hours and minutes in Italy. Write an algorithm using pseudocode or otherwise which input the name of the country, then hours and minutes, H and M, sorry. So input the name of the country, then H and M, as in hour and minute. When they have asked themselves, we have to use the same variable name. Input the time in Italy, okay? Calculate the time in the country. So let's say case of country. If country is equal to Mexico, then R is equal to R minus 7. We have no consideration of what will happen if R's will go below 0 or whatever. If they would have asked for it, then we would have done something for it. Since they have not asked for it, we are not going to do anything about it. Then India. Hours is equal to hours plus 4 and minutes is equal to minutes plus 30. And then New Zealand. Hours is equal to hours plus 11 and then end case. And what you have to output then? You have to output the name of the country, and the hours and minutes which are updated for that country. So this is it. Input, output, process. That's it. This is your answer. This is format 5. Let's see if there are any other questions for format 5. We have got 5 minutes left. No, we don't have another question. We had one question I do remember for the digit count and all. Where the question has gone? Okay, this question. No, not this. Yes, this question. Format 5. It is October, November 10 P13. Question B. This one. So it says that write an algorithm using pseudocode flowchart which input a whole number which is greater than 0. So input whole number which is greater than 0 means you don't have to do anything until unless it is specifically asked that you have to carry validation and all. You are not going to do it. So it's a whole number in good faith that this number when entered is greater than 0. Which is greater than 0 means the number that is entered is greater than 0. You don't have to do anything for it. It is already greater than 0. Calculate the number of digits in the number. So as I explained the other day that we will be using integer of log of whole number plus 1. So this will give you what? The number of digits. Output the number of digits and the original number. So output number of digits x and the original number is in whole number. So that's about it. 3 lines. You can do this with a loop, with a condition based loop as well, but that is the wastage of time for such a small number. So let's say if you enter whole number 35, log of 35 would be 2 point something. That point something will be shed off because of this integer function, and what remains 2. That 2 when added to 1 becomes 3, and the output would be 35 and 3. That would be your answer. So that's it. So this is called format 5 when we don't have to apply any repeat, while or for. Okay, so we have completed format 1, format 2, format 3 and format 5. So this format 5 is also completed. Now we are left with what? Format 4. Once we complete format 4, then we will complete array. So tomorrow my target is to finish format 4 and arrays, and day after we will finish flowcharts, and then we will be tackling with what do we call it? PRM. All right. So thank you very much. Take care.